Americans?
I think I agree with what you say, like black's the general term. It's pretty much when you say somebody's black, no matter whether it's mixed with Caucasian, but it's just see their color scheme, and it doesn't define where you're actually from. It's just you're black and you live wherever you live. When you say African American, most people would think it's somebody who's black and lives in America. Like if somebody see me walking in the street here in the U.S., they will call me African American, you know. And if it's African American who knows me quite well and know where I'm from, they will call me African. They would not call me like African American. But I would say the majority of white Caucasian or Indian people who reside in the United States pretty much will call me that. But all over the world elsewhere, the general term would be black.
So I got a question. Two parents, both from Africa, have a child in America. Is that child African American? Or is that child African because their parents came from Africa?
Going back to the preserving the culture, that would be African.
African.
No, but that's my own opinion.
Really quick, my auntie, she's African American, and her husband is Ghanaian, and so her son is what, half Ghanaian, half American. So is he truly African American, or I don't know?
That's definitely an interesting question. Go ahead.
Okay. I had a friend sometime, and we were just talking about like the difference between Africans and African Americans. She personally told me that she doesn't like when people refer to her as African American. That she prefers people calling her Black American. So back to your question, it's actually something that confuses me too. Like, what's the difference between a Black American and African American? Can somebody elaborate on that? A Black American and an African American. Is there a difference?
I think I say like a black general term where
Black American.
well, I've never heard anybody say a black American except when I was in Africa. They prefer African American. They refer to African Americans as black Americans.
She's African American. She said she doesn't like it when people call her African American because she's not from Africa, because she was born in America. So she prefers when people call her Black American, not African American.
Yeah, so I guess it's terms that you can find yourself how you want to be called.
Somebody said that maybe it's just preference. Some people prefer African American, some people prefer Black American. I guess it's just kind of depends on the people that you meet.
Going back to that African American, Black American, African, being called, like, because most people will refer to me as African, where I don't consider myself as African. Just like if I would ask any American people here, are Canadian people American? Are Canadian people American? Are they? Yeah, just like I'm African, where I'm not from the country. I am from the continent of Africa, but I'm from the country, South Africa. That's what I'm saying. When somebody says, okay, you're from North America, Canadians aren't Americans. Canadians are Canadians, just like Mexicans are Mexicans. They're not American either. A lot of people that are American are people from the United States. Now, when you say people from Africa are all African, it's kind of general, where you could be more specific in saying, or rather than saying I'm African, you can say where they're from, like Nigerian, South African, or Sudanese, or Senegalese, something like that.
So you're saying you prefer your specific country, because although you're a part of Africa.
Yeah. Should I call all Americans North Americans?
Right.
Well, Eve's got her. I'm Dan from Traverse City, and I'm not an Irish, German, French, Canadian, Native American. I'm just an American. And people from the United States are generally referred, not United Statesians, but Americans. So I think, like how Sozo was saying, he's South African. The continent that his country is Africa, but I mean, I don't necessarily consider myself an American in the sense of the continent. I consider myself an American in the sense of the country I'm from. And so I think trying to make a differentiation between what type of African you may be really comes down to the country you're from. Like, I can't really trace my ancestry is crazy and mixed all over Europe, but I don't consider myself any of those things. I consider myself an American. I was born here, and neither of my parents are directly from another country. So I think if you're in America or you're born in America, you're American, and if you're from South Africa, you're South African, or if you're from Nigeria, you're Nigerian. The whole describing yourself from one continent is just too much of like a broad shot. You can't define people as just being from a continent. I think that is misgiving about people and doesn't tell you enough about them.
Very interesting. Did you have something that you not anymore to the okay. So does anybody else have anything that they want to say about the differences between Black Africans and African Americans? I was gonna go back
to what that gentleman was saying, just to reiterate. I think it depends on the person, because for me, I, consider myself Nigerian American because I can trace my lineage back to Nigeria. Both of my parents are Nigerian, so for me, that's, what I like to be called. But then again, I'm still called African American, but, I guess it just depends on the person, because I like to put Nigerian in front of it because I embrace my culture and stuff. So, just I say it just depends.
Okay, so does anybody else have anything that they want to share about that? All right, the next question is kind of interesting. It says, what are your thoughts about intercultural relationships? I guess intercultural can include interracial, but there are some cultures in America.
I personally was just going to say, I think whoever you love is who you love. That's who you should go with. Unless you're trying to preserve your culture, and then you should hold on. Just saying.
All right, thank you for that. So does anybody else have anything they want to share on intercultural relationships?